Hello, I'm Kathie Korn. I'm a docent at Second Presbyterian Church for Friends of Historic Second Church. And today I'm going to talk to you about Blanche Ostertag. Many of you know that an important woman artist, Agnes Northrop, contributed the design for Tiffany Studios for our pastoral window. But there was another very accomplished, lesser-known woman artist who also made an important contribution to the arts and crafts flavor of this church. And her name was Blanche Ostertag. She designed the window behind me, which is a light screen. So it's got a grapevine motif, and it lets light come through from the Narthex, where I am sitting, into the sanctuary, and indirectly it lets light come through from the exterior, so there's outdoor light. Blanche Ostertag was born in St. Louis in 1872. She had a French-speaking Swiss mother and a German-speaking father, so she grew up speaking all three languages. When she completed high school, she studied art briefly at the St. Louis Museum of Art, and then at the age of 22, she set sail for Paris, where she found two art schools. There weren't many in those days, but she found two that would admit women students, and she studied at each of those. And she was a successful student in 1895 and in 1896. She had works selected to be displayed at the Paris salons. In 1899, she came back to the United States after her studies were completed. She also did some traveling in France, in Germany, and in Holland. But then she came back to the United States and she settled in Chicago. In Chicago, she did many things. She worked in many media. One of the things she did was advertising for Carson Perry Scott. And that would be newspaper ads, but they're so charming that at least one of them is being sold as a poster to this day. She also got work as an illustrator of children's books. There was a whole series of books for which she did the illustrations. I believe the first one is a music book called Songs Every Child Should Know. But the inspiration for Songs Every Child Should Know was a similar book that she had been involved with at some level when she lived in France, a book of French songs for children. She also continued to work on the whole series. So this is Heroines Every Child Should Know, also illustrated by Blanche Ostertag. But in addition to heroines, there were heroes, there were myths, there were legends, all with the title Every Child Should Know. There were even operas Every Child Should Know, and she had the contract, I guess, to do all of these illustrations, which was one way that she could support herself. She did not only do children's book illustrations. This is the interior of a book that I found that she illustrated that I was very surprised to see, because the title of this book is The Stained Glass Lady. Caliper had studio space with some of the well-known artists in Chicago. Particularly, she was in the Fine Arts Building with Lorado Taft and some others. And she also participated in a summer artist colony on land that Taft had near Oregon, Illinois, called Eagle's Nest, and she did that for several years. As a member of the Society of Western Artists, she was one of the designers for Tico Pottery, which was a very influential art pottery studio in Crystal Lake, Illinois. And I wanted to show you this piece, I've always known was influenced by Tico, and now I think it was influenced by the Blanche Ostertag piece. This is the pottery that made this is Nietzsche Bay in Sebastopol, California. So now I want to talk more specifically about Blanche's probable involvement, or the way she became involved in designing this light screen for Second Presbyterian. In 1899, she and Orlando Giannini of Giannini and Hilgard designed, she designed and he built, I believe, a mosaic fireplace mantle for a Frank Lloyd Wright house in Chicago, which was the Husser House. Built in 1899, it was on Buena, which is kind of in the uptown neighborhood near the lake. It only survived until 1924, so it was only there for 25 years. But there are photographs, black and white photographs of that mantelpiece, which was definitely her work. She's also credited, maybe she always wasn't, but now she is, with the design for the Darwin Martin House, a Frank Lloyd Wright masterpiece that is still survives in Buffalo, New York. And that fireplace is really the center of the house. It has mosaic mantelpiece, mosaics on all four sides because it's so central. And it's a beautiful piece. So we know that she worked with Giannini. We know that Giannini and Hilgard worked at the church on this window. So it is pretty definite that she was the designer. And like the wisteria, it's got a repeating motif of plants and vines. And it's utterly beautiful. If you want to know more about the window itself, look at our stained glass window series, and window number 5 is a more detailed discussion of the features of this window. As she became more and more known, she got some commissions to paint murals. She painted a mural for the passenger rail station in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That mural survives in the Neville Public Museum in Green Bay. She also was commissioned to paint a mural, one of many, many murals, at the New Amsterdam Theater, an important Broadway theater in New York. And that theater is still existing. In fact, the Disney company bought it and put it through a multi-million-dollar restoration. They use it for their live performances. It's called The Sailing of the Claremont. But we believe that by 1913, Blanche and her mother and sister were living in New York. We know that from census data. But the last information that we have about her at all, doing anything, is in 1918. We have no idea where she lived after that, where she died. There are no obituaries found for her. And I hope you will come and see this light screen and think about her in the future. Thanks.